Hello, welcome back to another pen talk, a very special pen talk. Thank you very much for joining me in my channel, in my adventures in the wild world of pens. And yes, I got a very nice pen delivered today. Supposed to have been delivered a few days ago by FedEx, but the package somehow got lost. But thankfully, it showed up today outside my garage door. Supposed to require a signature, but they didn't ask for one. And yes, I bought a Cypress fountain pen. A company in Taiwan. I've been watching their pens for a while. And when I saw this listing in Facebook, I went to the website, bought the pen, which we will look at. And of course, they give you a nice warranty. And it contains English side. And there's the product, the warranty period. Looks like it's 1 year to 2024. That's nice. Came in this excellent bamboo box. Very sturdy. And we see in the FedEx package, it was inside of another box with foam around it. So extremely well protected. This lead slides off and we see a nice embossing of the logo. The lid comes off. It's magnetically set in place. Here's some bubble wrap, and the pen is in a tube, also wrapped in bubble wrap. And in the package was this little velvet platform that goes inside of here, and so the pen is held in place when you're not using it. So I'm impressed with how it's been packaged. So we're going to open up this tube and look at the pen. Stay tuned. So they're going to give me some paper. There's a little sticker there for 52 GSM, and this is Tomoe River paper. And it's B5, a size that I really like, so I'm impressed, very happy with that. They also gave me this very nice leather pouch, and it smells like leather, and the logo is embossed there. Very well done. Two little styrofoam things to replicate pens. So I have a nice Cypress leather case to put my pen in when I'm traveling with it, which I may not do, but I do like the case. So I have to remove the bubble wrap. We'll see the pen is inside of a velvet pouch, so I'm very impressed with the level of packaging to protect the pen, and we're going to reveal it, my first view of the pen, with you. So we'll open up the velvet pouch. Now, everything is very secure, and we'll slide the pen out. Ta-da! There it is. And it's in a plastic condom sleeve. And voila. Beautiful. When I saw this, I just said, gotta have it. Yes, it was not inexpensive, and yes, I've blown my budget for 2023, but I like to get one expensive pen, and I decided that this one warranted an acquisition. Cap comes off in a little over 2.5 turns. It feels like there might be some type of spring-loaded sealing mechanism there. It's a nice gold. I got a 14 karat gold nib. I had a choice of steel, 14 or 18 karat, so I went with 14 karat. It's a nice logo there. I think it's a Yovo nib. I like the fact that this Greek motif is also here on the section. I just love this resin. It's cellulose acetate, and I felt the pen would be good size, and it is. And not a pen that I would post, and it posts very high, so we're not going to do that. But I just love the little attention to detail. I like this brass coloring. You know, shiny rhodium, shiny gold. We got so much of that, so it's nice to have something a little different. And that's nice and spring-loaded. Have to clean it up a little bit, but that's fine. So we're going to explore this pen, talk about why it's now in my possession. Hopefully you can look at it and say, wow, I understand why you would want the pen. And we'll explore the buying process. And they also sent me some goodies along with the pen because the shipment was delayed a few days because of a typhoon, which was fine with me. I had no expectations. The pen arrived quicker than I expected, even though it was delayed by FedEx by a few days. Tough choice for an ink, but this one called out to me. I have it in a few pens. Interesting name. Yes, it has some green glitter in it, which I think is perfect complement to the MrCypress pen. Here's what it looks like on a paper towel. Fairly good green with some glitter in it and maybe some shading. Who knows? Let's see how it works in the nib. So let me say right off, I like the nib. There's a good bounce to it, and it is a fine, almost extra fine, and it opens up nicely, and that ink flow is certainly generous, which is what you would want in a gold nib like this, in a pen like this. I have a lot of vintage gold soft nibs, and this one is close. I expected it, and it met my expectations. It's a little bit of a scratchiness on the paper, but this is my first writings with the nib, so my expectations it'll break in, and as the review progresses, we'll talk a little bit about how the nib might break in. And this paper also has some texture to it, this Fabriano Equicro paper, so you are going to get a little bit more feedback on this paper than you would on your other fountain pen friendly paper like Toma River, Rhodia, or Clairefontaine. Stay tuned for more writing and more looks at the great Love at First Sight, what a name, pen from MrCypress. So you may ask if I'm concerned about glitter and the pen reliability, and I'll say no. I've used this ink in a lot of pens, and I have a lot of glitter inks from China, and they all work very, very well. The glitter is on the subtle side, not as intense as the diamine glitter or the J or Bond glitter, but to me it just adds a nice little character to your writing, something to show off your fountain pen writing with. So here's some examples of pens that I enjoyed spending money to acquire. First one here is a Santini Libra, and this is an ebonite material, which I found amazing, called Caribbean. Piston fill, and it has a glorious 18 karat nib, and this is super flex, very, very soft nib. A challenge to write with, but very rewarding. Standard Italian rollerball clip there that has been used on a lot of pens. This is a good size pen. And then I fell in love with this Leonardo Momento Zero Grande and Mosaico. Again, a piston filler. This has a steel nib, a flexible steel nib. You know, not exactly flexible like the 18 karat nib, but it's nice writer. Doesn't flow as well as the MrCypress pen, and neither does the Santini flow as well. But this is a well-made pen, feels good in the hand. And earlier this year, at the Pen Expo at the New York Fountain Pen Hospital. I bought this Delta. Yeah, I like green. And I like Delta. So this one was, $150, so it wasn't over $200. And it just has a generic nib, which needs to be wiped off. This pen has been traveling around, so I think that's a little condensation built up there. And this pen I bought because I fell in love with the material, called Cybercell, made by F3 Pens. I like sometimes a minimalistic design, no metal trim, no clip. And this has a very nice, broad Bach nib. You can see I have a jadeite peacock in here. And I just love the material and the color, the feel. But it's not the same as MrCypress pen. So why did I fall in love with MrCypress pen? Number one, this material just amazes me. I love something that just has so much variation to it, even though it's basically only two colors, green and black. If you look at the end of the barrel, you can see how they made this cellulose acetate. These are lines, and it looks like they probably just use some type of rod to pull down and make this pattern. I can't imagine the artist, and I call them artists, that just figure out how to make a glorious pattern in a resin like this. I love the clip design. I love the little way it's engraved. The cap band, and there's two of them, big one and a little one. This feels good in the hand. That's the other thing. When you spend some coin on a pen, you want it to feel good the first time you pick it up, the first time you touch it, and this pen meets that requirement with honors. I love the fact that this cap has a little bit of once you tighten it down, I think it's the way the threading is done. So at the end of the threads, they probably got shallow. So when you tighten it down, it stays there. This way, there's no way this cap is going to accidentally loosen. And that happens on more than enough pens than I'd like to talk about. It just requires a little bit of effort to get it off. And there are a fair bit of turns, but I'm okay with that. And this 14 karat gold Jovo nib just writes phenomenally well. Very, very impressed and happy. And I love that little band, which is basically, that's just an extension of the metal insert that is in the section and is threaded to accommodate the barrel. Santini does that a lot too in their pens. They're higher end pens, certainly more dinero than the MrCypress pen. So that's the fun part. And you really need to be, you can see how that works. So you really need to push down to engage the threads. Once you do that, you can turn it to secure the cap. It's very, very, very well done. Yeah, that's 4 varies, I think. I've done 3 wows, now I'm doing 4 varies. So that's why I have this pen. I saw the listing on Facebook. Here's that listing. I went to their website. I ordered one. And I spent an extra $80 to get a 14 karat nib over a steel nib because I felt that this pen warranted the 14 karat nib. And I'm not at all disappointed. And that's the good part. When you spend some coin on a pen, you want to feel good about it. And I do feel good about it. Hopefully, you can appreciate my joy in owning this pen. So speaking of expensive pens, but this one I did not pay for. It was offered to me by the creator. And I can't do a review until their Kickstarter kicks in. And that's been well over a year ago. And I do ping them now again, and they're still waiting. This pen has some very interesting features. Besides the incredible pattern grain in that wood, the finish is phenomenal. The cap comes off in a quarter turn, and it has a 14 karat Bach nib, you can tell by the way the feet is different than Jowo. And the other thing it has my name engraved on the section. What a nice touch. And that metal section feels fine. This is a great pen. Too bad I can't talk about it. The packaging was phenomenal. I thought it was ready for sale, but not quite. Just thought a little teaser for you. And pens come in many different sizes. I'm impressed with the creativity of many of the new pen makers all around the world. I hope you've got to appreciate this incredible pen that I'm sharing with you. Let's give you some dimensions in my standard format. So what makes a pen great? Number one, it has to feel great. Number two, it has to look great. Yeah, I know a lot of people like just a black and gold pen, but there's only so many of those you want. A pen like this blows your mind, at least mine. And so many little touches like that spring-loaded cap liner. Yeah, it takes a few turns, but I'd rather have secure threading than a cap that comes off with less turns. Feels good in the hand. You can move your fingers anywhere. Nice size section, dimensions, and an excellent nib that I enjoy writing with. So what makes this nib great? Well, let's look at it real close as we finish up this video. So the one thing is, it requires no pressure to write, which I've talked about how some nibs require some pressure. That is a really fine line. So from an artist's viewpoint, I can imagine this nib would work very, very well. I've noticed a lot of them do cross-hatching, things like that. And it is consistent. This nib always writes, never stops. Unlike some other expensive pens that I have. The other thing is this nib is soft. And what I mean by that, I mean it lays down this really fine line, but you put a little bit of pressure on it and it opens up, and that's a little bit of pressure, not a lot, and that gives it just a really nice feel. There is a lot of feedback, which is not unusual for Jowo nibs or other types of nibs, and I'm certain over time it'll lessen, and if you don't put pressure on it, the feedback drops off almost to zero. This is a pen I will enjoy over and over again. Phenomenal. Cellulose acetate. Who would have guessed? A pattern I've never seen before. Amazing. So we've reached the end of this video. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. I hope this video finds everyone safe, healthy, and happy, enjoying your pens. Hey, enjoying watching me play with my pens. Whatever. I think life is great. You just have to have the right perspective. So we're going to say this is the end. Video's gotten long. Some of you stayed at the end. And we will say bye. Look at that. Over and over again. A great writer, one I will treasure forever.